problem? Call 1-800-8899-9789. Must be 21 or older and located in Tennessee to bet.
The buzzer has sounded. We are headed to overtime with William Pattison on Fox Sports Knoxville. This is Fan Run Radio.
And here we go live from the White Claw Hard Seltzer Studios. It's overtime with Allie Campbell, Tyler Barbaras, Jackson Freeman. I'm William Pattison. We appreciate you listening along with us on this fine Monday, this Victory Monday from Knoxville, Tennessee. Plenty to cover over the next hour, including Ricky Gibson, Tennessee's cornerback with a significant injury, is going to miss time. We'll break down what Josh Heupel had to say earlier today about that. But before that, we'll talk about what happened over the weekend in terms of the action. We'll have our week one takeaways as well as our takeaways from Tennessee and Syracuse and Atlanta. Jordan Moore will be joining us in about 30 minutes to help break down some of the new formations and offensive schemes that we saw from the Volunteers. And plenty to cover, man. A fun weekend of college football. Got to digest a ton of it. So happy to come in today and be able to talk about it. Let's welcome in the rest of the crew. I think everyone went to Atlanta this weekend. Jackson, did you go to Atlanta?
I did not.
Okay.
I watched from the comfort of my apartment.
Okay, there you go. Me as well. So 2 people from their apartment, 2 people from Atlanta. One person that is from Atlanta went to her hometown this weekend is Allie. Allie, how was your weekend?
It was as great as it could be. A Vols win in my hometown. Got to bring 15 of my closest friends to all of my stomping grounds. So that was great. And even better to see a Vols win in a stadium that I'm very familiar with. So it was as great as it could have been.
And you said before you left on Wednesday that there's 15 people or 16 people all in one house. How did that go down?
Yeah, so we stayed at one of my good friend's house who lives, she lives a little bit farther away, but after the game we came back to my house, so we split time a little bit. A ton of, girls on every inch of the house. We took a nap after the game, and it was just funny. I walked downstairs, and like every inch of my house was covered by people sleeping.
Interesting. Very fun party house at the Campbells this weekend.
Basically.
After a big-time win for the Volunteers. Good to hear it was a good time. Tyler, you ended up going to Atlanta as well. How was your trip?
Yeah, I did. I was convinced by William Pattison and caller Roberto. Ended up buying a ticket. Found a place to stay, slept on an air mattress at my buddy's for 2 nights. Got a ticket. It was pretty cheap, like $70. Bought it the day before the game. It was definitely worth the investment. Had a great time. Was up in the nosebleed area, but I was surrounded by University of Tennessee fans and our shade of orange, not the Syracuse shade of orange. The stadium, too, Mercedes-Benz. Really neat stadium.
Very cool.
It was fun. We took the MARTA, I believe is what it's called,
Yes,
Allie. Took the MARTA. That was pretty cool. That's just like the public transportation system in Atlanta. Took that from my buddy's place in Sandy Springs, I believe is where he lived. Took that to downtown Atlanta. Had a good time. It was awesome. Watched the Vols win. Didn't do too much over the weekend. There was a lot going on. There was like Dragon Con or something going on.
Oh my gosh,
too.
yes. There were some characters in the city.
Yeah.
Well, that's why you were going originally, correct?
Yeah, because I was going to dress up in a something outfit. That was the original reasons. But ended up having to cancel on my 12 friends at Dragon Con, sadly.
Okay.
Had some bigger fish to fry, but ended up just kicking it at my friend's house Friday and Saturday night. And it was cool. It's a great area. Hung out in Marietta for a little bit on Saturday. It was a good time. Came back yesterday, and now we got to start school again, and college football continues to be on its way. Good weekend for me.
Good deal. And Jackson, how was yours?
It was pretty good. Spent a lot of time watching the Royals face off against the Tigers for the last time this year.
Okay.
Not a great series for the Royals. Still trying to make a late playoff push. But other than that, it was pretty good. Spent a lot of time with my brother and some friends. Great watching the Vols win.
Well, good deal.
I haven't heard MLB be talked on the show in quite some time now. That was
I know.
that was a nice
true.
refresher.
That's up Tyler's alley, some MLB talk.
Speaking of the Royals.
Okay. We'll get to college football as Tyler is enthused by the MLB currently going on. But, folks, Tennessee got a big-time win this weekend as number 24 Tennessee opened its 2025 season in commanding fashion Saturday afternoon, racing past Syracuse 45-26 in the Aflac kickoff game at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. The Vols, who improved to 1-0 on the season, started quickly with a 17-point first quarter. Max Gilbert was the first points of the season for the Volunteers, knocked in a field goal, and then Peyton Lewis followed up with an 85-yard march that was then capped by a 2-yard touchdown from him. And then possibly the prettiest play of the day was just a couple of moments later for Tennessee's offense. Joey Aguilar finds Braylon Staley for a 73-yard touchdown. And really from then on out, Tennessee had firm control. Colton Hood had a really nice scoop and score. That was a big defensive highlight for the Volunteers. And you had some really, really big moments from your running back room, your wide receivers, the offensive line. There was a lot of positive on Saturday from the Vols. And when we look at the total numbers, Aguilar in command of the offense finished 16 of 28, 247 yards, 3 touchdowns. Chris Brazel paced the receivers with 5 catches for 62 yards, while Staley also added in 4 receptions for 95 yards and a score. And then on the ground, you had Star Thomas, who rushed for 92 yards, added a receiving touchdown. Bishop goes for 82 and a first-half score, and Payne Lewis also found it in the end zone as well. On the defensive side of the ball, Arian Carter led the way with a team-high 9 tackles, including a sack and a tackle for loss. Jalen McMurray and edge rusher Joshua Josephs each recorded 7 stops with 1 tackle for loss and 1 sack apiece as a unit. The Vols finished with 5 sacks and 7 tackles for loss. We'll get into our takeaways. And my first takeaway really came from one of the first plays of the game offensively for the Volunteers, and it was a new-look offense. And we'll talk more about that with Jordan here in a little bit. But we heard a lot of talk this offseason about Josh Heupel trying to get back into that 2022 version of a high-tempo, very hard to defend. It spreads you out to a lot of different things going on for a defense to prepare for. And immediately, from the first play of the game, you see spread out wide, motion before the snap, and then you had a short cross route from Chris Brazel or Braylon Staley, either one of those two, and you find an instant connection. So you found newness in the offense. You had a really nice halfback delayed screen pass for Deshaun Bishop that went for 25 yards a little bit later in that drive. You also set up that Braylon Staley touchdown brilliantly by running the same type formation 2 times before and running out of it. And then on that third time, you're able to see the safety drop down, come inside. Aguilar reads that and then hits him for a deep shot. The newness of the offense was definitely there. I think Heupel has worked really hard this offseason trying to revitalize his MO, and that is tempo and offense. And I thought on Saturday you saw that from this Tennessee team. The second thing, I thought you got Joey Aguilar in rhythm early. That was one of my keys on Friday when we last talked, and I said, get him going with some easy stuff first. And you saw that to where you had a lot of design time routes to where you had to come back from a Mike Matthews or Braylon Staley or Chris Brazel. That gives Joey Aguilar confidence early and gets him in rhythm, and that's exactly what Tennessee was able to do. I thought the offensive line was really, really strong. They held their end of the bargain, and Jesse Perry did a great job. Sham Umarov, a guy that wasn't supposed to start. David Sanders is a late scratch. He stepped up into that position. I thought the offensive line was really, really good for the opener. The running backs room continues to show me that this is the most talented backs we've seen under a Josh Heupel team. I like how there's a little bit something different with every single one of them. Deshaun Bishop, a little bit more twitchy, and you can find those lanes with his running vision. With Payne Lewis, a guy that's going to put his head down and go right through you. Star Thomas, that utility knife, a guy that can run the ball but also be used as a pass catcher. There were a lot of great things from the offense. If I were going to be critical, Joey Aguilar has got to bring his balls down. Way too many high throws, inaccurate at times. And I think that the receivers faced a lot of criticism this offseason from me as well. I thought they held their end of the bargain. I think Joey Aguilar was off on a couple of throws, needs to bring the ball down a little bit. But other than that, I thought it was a strong showing from your first-time starting quarterback in this offense. The defense had a couple of highlight plays. I'll give them credit for that. But we might be having a conversation here in a couple of weeks after we face against Georgia, because I was not very impressed with the defense, particularly inside on the defensive line. Syracuse had their way running the ball. Now, when you go look at the stat sheet, it's going to say 2.1 yards per carry, but that's also taking into account the Steve Angeli sacks, and that brings back the total. Syracuse in the second half had their way with the defensive line, and I think that's an issue and got to be something that's looked at. I get you were really banged up. No David Hobbs. Bryson Eason goes down. Jackson Moy goes down. Nate Robinson goes down. Like, you had a lot of different guys that were banged up, and I understand that. But for the best and most well-coached unit over the last 3 to 4 years, I expected more from that group. The DBs look strong. Ty Redmond, I thought was really, really impressive, the freshman cornerback. And other than that, I thought it was a good way to open the season, start off on a strong note. That's exactly what Tennessee did. And 45 points for a new offense against a Power 4 opponent. Fran Brown, really good coach for Syracuse. Might not have the personnel to go up against a Tennessee right now, but he's a really good coach. They've got a good secondary. They know their stuff. And I thought the fact that Joey Aguilar was able to have that type of success speaks volumes to the type of effort and just maybe not passion, but the type of effort and time put in this offseason by Josh Heupel to revitalize this offense was shown on Saturday. Allie, when you look at Saturday, you were there in the stadium. What'd you see? What are your takeaways from the Vols win?
Yeah, so much to look at now that we actually have at least one game under our belts to know what this can look like in the future. Offensive line was one of the biggest things that was a surprise to me. They looked strong. They didn't allow a single sack. And then looking at the running backs, they had 4 different running backs receiving carries, including Bishop and Lewis, who had touchdowns. So I liked how they used them in their offense. That seemed very effective. Looking at quarterback play, I thought that Joey Aguilar looked very confident. Of course, there were some high passes, some things that he'll work on throughout the season. But for his first game in a neutral field, he's not at Neyland, first game in the SEC, we saw aggression without recklessness, something that I talked about last week as things that the coaches have said they saw in this quarterback, and I think that we definitely saw that in this first game. He showed poise in the pocket. He showed some pass accuracy, some obviously overthrown a little bit, but with 247 passing yards. That's the most a quarterback has had in their debut under Heupel's tenure, and I think that that's huge. Building off of that, I think that this is a great place to start. Defensively, Colton Hood got SEC Co-Defensive Player of the Week, and I think that's big. He is showing to be a really important transfer, and I will see hopefully a lot from him this coming season. Ty Redmond obviously stood out, and we'll get to his place in this defense a little bit later with some people, being announced as not being able to be present in the season. But Joshua Josephs had a really good quote about their performance. He said, "Speaking as a defense, I don't believe we set the right tone as we should have. We left a lot of things out there. That's a good team, and they were able to capitalize off the mistakes that we were making." I think that that's a good way to put it. I think Syracuse did a good job, but there are some things that they can work on. Last year, their average points allowed was 17.2. They allowed 26 in this game, so obviously that's not ideal. But for a first game, I think that it's something that they can definitely work on, so I'm not necessarily worried just yet.
Tyler.
Yeah, I want to talk about Joey Aguilar because I was really impressed with his ability to move outside the pocket and extend plays. That was something that, you never really had with Nico Iamaleava last season. I feel like Joey was really comfortable when he was moving out to his right. Now, to his left, that's a whole different story, but he was comfortable rolling out, throwing across his body, throwing back to the middle of the field. That's where a little bit of the recklessness that Allie talks about comes into play. However, he was making it work, and it honestly looked quite easy for him. I liked how he was using his legs, picked up 34 yards on the ground. Rushing, he had that one like 25-yard rush. I was really impressed with that. The accuracy on the deep ball to Staley was very, very impressive. That's something that I sadly didn't see live. I was on the concourse. I had to go use the bathroom, but I just heard a massive pop. But when I went back to watch that throw again, it was very, very impressive. So I was impressed with Joey Aguilar and his ability to make plays as a playmaker and as an improviser. That's something that we didn't really see with Nico Iamaleava last season consistently. From the rush attack, this is something that I talked about multiple times about how you could kind of have a three-headed monster and you could run teams into the ground towards that back end of games. And that's exactly what they did. I believe on the first drive of the game, Deshaun Bishop took over. Then the second drive was Peyton Lewis. Then the third drive was Star Thomas. And they kind of just kept on with that revolving door, switching guys every single possession, every single drive. And it got to a point where this team totaled up over 200 yards on the ground. Now, I know it's against Syracuse, but Deshaun Bishop and Star Thomas averaged above 7.5 yards per carry. That's very, very impressive. Peyton Lewis, 4.8 yards per carry. Out of your three running backs, he had the lowest total at 4.8. It's a pretty good indication that this is going to be a very, very strong run game. As you guys are also impressed with Ty Redmond, I feel the same. He played a lot, was a little bit handsy, but that's what you expect out of a freshman. Colton Hood made some plays, obviously the scoop and score. Was very impressed with Arion Carter. He kind of played all over the place, but he showed a lot of explosiveness, something that we were waiting to see from Carter. But I do have one pushback on your point, William, about how this front seven kind of was getting pushed around a little bit in the run game. I think that this team, they do a good job of making contact at the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage. The longest rush by a Syracuse runner was 12 yards, so they did a good job of not letting that, 25-plus yard run, because that's how teams, get the advantage on you. If you want to hold a guy to 3 yards a carry, 4 yards a carry, that's fine, and you can live with that if your defense can back you up. But I think this Tennessee front, especially with, how banged up they were, not having some crucial pieces on that defensive unit, they did a good job holding their own. And I think in the second half, obviously they were a little bit more tired, a little bit more fatigued. So you started to see the Syracuse run game pick up a little bit more. But in the first half, I was very impressed with this Tennessee defense and their front, because they weren't letting the Syracuse team, break off big runs at the point of contact. At most, the Syracuse runner would push for 1 or 2 more yards. I like my front to limit the big play. If you want to get 3 yards every rush, that's fine, because it's really hard to run for, 10 yards every play. So I was content with this front. And with this run defense, it will get better, and it can get better. I was impressed with Joshua Josephs. I was impressed with Arion Carter. And these are the players that you're going to need to have healthy and playing well when you go up against a better run defense. So I was impressed with those players, and I think it's something to build on, but I don't make anything of it as much. But overall, I was very impressed with how the Vols looked. 26 points is a little bit concerning, but 45 points on the offensive end is very, very fun.
Well, they might not have had any big run plays for 25 yards or so, but when you're picking up consistently, 4 yards, you have 3 runs of 4 yards as a first down. So in that second half, there was a stretch where Syracuse continued to have a ton of success moving it, in the, gaps within the tackles and guards. Just over and over again. It wasn't like they were pushing it outside and picking up yards that way. 4 yards a carry, that adds up, and it did throughout the course of that second half, where I thought when Joey Aguilar got hurt after the touchdown pass, things really slowed up for Tennessee. Offensively, I thought you kind of got a little bit sleepwalky / conservative, where Tennessee would rattle off 3 runs in a row, and it just kind of felt like they were trying to milk the game down. And then defensively, it kind of felt like the guys figured the game was already in the bag. And I get it. Look, it was a 4-hour game. It was very long. I was there last year for the Oklahoma game, and that one was 4 hours long. This one, having both having all the TVs working, Texas kicked off 15 minutes after Tennessee, and they were in the fourth quarter when Tennessee was still in the third. So the injuries and all that piled up. It was a long game. I get it. It's tough to stay focused when you're up by double digits. But, I mean, I thought Tennessee's effort, particularly in the third quarter and early fourth, was bad. And that's where you saw a lot of the run defense really start to crumble. So that's got to be fixed. No David Hobbs again this upcoming weekend, I would expect. Jackson Moy is already out as well. We'll talk more about those new injury revelations in hour number 2. But against Georgia, that's a better offensive line, and Nate Frazier comes back. You're not going to be able to sustain 4 yards a carry in the second half like the Volunteers allowed on Saturday. And Syracuse is not a pushover, but they're nowhere near the level of Georgia. So that's got to be something that's improved. I thought the linebackers, I liked the blitz packages, but, I think they had their fair share of tough moments as well against that run. So, look, we got to be nitpicky. It's part of it. It's the opening game of the season, and that's our first opportunity to take everything we've talked about this offseason and finally see it. But, there were some things that have to be cleaned up, and I thought that was really concerning, knowing how good this Tennessee defensive line has been in years past. Jackson, anything to add? Any takeaways from you on Saturday?
Yeah, the biggest thing that stood out to me was just how Joey Aguilar progresses through a play. Tennessee does not run a very multi-read heavy offense. It's a lot of the time one read. If he's open, you throw it. If not, you figure out something else. And you would see throughout the game, Joey would progress through different reads on plays where it was a one-read play. And that's just something you really didn't see with Nico. And that really stood out to me, that the way he could process through a play in 3 seconds. It's really nice to see.
Yeah, I thought Joey was impressive. And again, this is a guy we've talked about all year, Allie, kind of leading up to this. It was important to get him comfortable early on. I thought Tennessee did that. But, I mean, for a guy that just learned this offense, 2 or 3 months ago, I thought he was really composed. What'd you make of the quarterback play from Aguilar?
Yeah, specifically with that 73-yard pass, I know everyone's going to be talking about that because the deep ball is something that we struggled with last year. But what was interesting with that is how he was able to place the ball so that it was in a favorable position for Staley to, make that catch, because he saw the open grass. He made a quick read of the situation. And like Jackson said, he was able to, make a read really, really quickly. And so I think that that's something that you have with a 24-year-old quarterback that you wouldn't necessarily have with one of those younger guys who, regardless of where he played, he had a lot more years of experience to kind of adjust to things like that. So it was good to see this from him. Obviously, there's things that he can work on, but this was a very, very promising start.
And Tyler, you talked a lot about, Joey Aguilar and his progression, what he was able to do. Looking at the rest of the offensive side of the ball, however, the running backs I thought looked really strong. The offensive line as well. I thought the receivers, for much of the conversation we have had this offseason, the receivers were a big topic. If you didn't really know what to expect. You saw a little bit of Travis Smith out there on Saturday, but for the most part, everyone was healthy. Everyone was available. Staley made a big-time play. Mike Matthews was involved as well. Chris Brazzell had a touchdown that was wiped away due to a penalty, but I thought for the most part the receivers were pretty impressive. Tyler, anything to add on what you saw from the receiving corps?
Yeah, the first couple drives, I was really only watching Mike Matthews because I was curious to see how he looked, trying to find separation, and he was killing it, man. I mean, obviously the timing and the chemistry with Aguilar and with Mike Matthews is only going to progress and get better as the season continues and goes on, but Mike Matthews is a guy that could be a matchup nightmare for a lot of cornerbacks. He's tall, he's physical, he's aggressive, good hands, attacks the point of the ball. This is a guy that I think with a higher target share, and he did get a lot of targets. He had a couple drops that, William, you talked about Aguilar obviously throwing it a little bit too high, but I think there were 2 passes that Mike Matthews has to come down with in that first quarter, but those are kind of just, week one jitters. But I do think Mike Matthews, as a true wideout one, that alpha receiver that I was talking about, you need to find in this Tennessee offense this season. I think Mike Matthews has the most upside out of a Chris Brazzell, out of a Braylon Staley. So very happy with how Mike Matthews looked. If Staley wants to be, your over-the-top burner wide receiver. Take the top off the defense, completely fine by me. 4 catches for 95 yards. I get it. 73 of those yards came from that long shot touchdown, but Staley looked good. Chris Brazzell, I mean, man, if this is the player that you can get week in and week out, 4 to 6 catches of, 50 to 75 yards from Brazzell, I'm completely fine with that because that means that you have some sort of consistency in your receiving core. You need consistency with this group. You expect Miles Kitselman to bring you that consistency. He didn't get a whole lot of targets, but he is kind of like a safety blanket for you. And I'm sure as the season progresses, you're going to see Miles Kitselman get a higher target share. But right now I'm looking at Chris Brazzell, Miles Kitselman to be, the main targets for Joey. But I do think that Mike Matthews, the more we get into the year, you're going to start to see Mike Matthews get the ball a lot more, score a lot of touchdowns. He has all the talent. He has the size, all the tools to be a great wide receiver. I was really impressed with his route running, and I think he's, going to start to turn into that true wide receiver one that a lot of all fans want.
Tennessee takes down Syracuse 45-26 on Saturday in Atlanta. When we come back, we will focus on that new look offense for the Volunteers as Jordan Moore will join us to help break down what was new with the Volunteers on Saturday. Stay right here. It's Overtime presented by VIP Play on Fan Run Radio.
For the fans, by the fans, this is Fan Run Radio, Knoxville.
Hello, is Tina there?
Who's this?
Yeah, this is Vince from the hit reality show Wives Don't Tell. Tina applied for our show to confess that her husband won't go to the doctor to get his erectile dysfunction checked. She said she's ready for a guy that can bring the heat.
All right, what the hell is going on? You're talking to her husband right now? Tina!
Well, she wrote the application that her man's performance is questionable. She's basically married to a coffee table. She also said, we live within driving distance to Men's Pro Knoxville, but he's too scared to get a blood test.
Oh my, she is done. She is so done.
Got you, Mike. It's nephew Tommy. Ain't no reality show. It's a prank. Men's Pro Knoxville is the real deal, fellas. Local experts, test results in minutes. Call 865-544-8220 or hit menspronknoxville.com before your lady books a new co-star. Men's Pro Knoxville, making it happen.
Got a flat tire? Strange noise under the hood? Don't stress. Roll into Matlock Tire and Auto Service. From oil changes and brake repairs to brand new tires, Matlock's certified techs do it all. Fast, friendly, and fair priced, Matlock is the home of the price match guarantee. Bring in any competitor's ad and Matlock will match the exact same tire for the exact same price. Matlock Tire and Auto Service. 5 locations in East Tennessee. Visit matlocktireservice.com to find the location nearest you and schedule your appointment.
Yee-haw! I've been hooting and hollering ever since I started betting with the VIP Play app. VIP Play has more than 200 leagues, every bet type you can imagine, live betting and live hosts, all with 24/7 support from real live people when you need them. Start betting better with the VIP Play app today.
Don't be a better, be a better with VIP Play today.
Download VIP Play today or head to VIPPlayApp.com. Make sure you use the promo code FANRUN to take advantage of their welcome bonus and so they know that we sent you. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-8899-789. Must be 21 or older and located in Tennessee to bet.
Are you looking for a treat that will knock it out of the park at the next watch party? Just like your favorite baseball team, Crumble brings the best lineup week to week with an expanded roster that includes key lime pie, strawberry cake, or my personal favorite, Monster featuring M&M candies. Let Crumble treat you to the best cookies in the game. Download the Crumble app and start earning rewards. You can even vote monthly on what flavors you would like to see at any store of your choice. Warmer weather is here, so get to the ballpark, but don't miss the cookies.
Ready to launch your career? Axle Logistics is a leading third-party logistics company where excellence is an energy. With an award-winning culture, Axle proves that positive outcomes come from a positive environment and a work hard, play hard mentality. At Axle, the drive for success is infectious. And with an uncapped commission structure, hard work isn't just noticed, it's rewarded. For those with big goals and even bigger dreams, Axle Logistics is the place to start your career.
Here on Overtime, presented by VIP Play. We appreciate you listening along with us, whether it be on the free Fan Run Radio app, 105.7 FM or 1340 AM here in K-Town on the local dial, or on the X/YouTube live stream. However you're listening or watching, we do appreciate your time. Okay, so we did our takeaways, but we talked about that new look offense for Tennessee. And to help us break it down is our friend at the station, Jordan Moore, friend of the station, Jordan Moore, joining us. And he was with us in studio a couple of times last year to help break down these Tennessee games. And with football season back in full swing, we've got to bring him back. Jordan, how are you, man?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Doing well. Happy to have you back on. And look, man, let's start off with this Tennessee offense really on that first play. You know, we talked about it all offseason. Josh Heupel said he was going to change things up. He was going to get back to kind of revitalizing this offense. And the first play of the game, we see it. What'd you see on that specific play and really throughout that first quarter?
Yeah, it's just like you said, to your point, ever since the loss to Ohio State in the college football playoff, the number one thing that I had said all spring and summer was what tweaks or what additions to the offense Josh Heupel was going to make this season. And to your point, the very first play of the game, you saw one of the additions or tweaks that he has made. The wide receivers were at a normal width from the line of scrimmage. Usually we're seeing the wide receivers way out towards the sidelines. We didn't see that last year, and the last couple of years you didn't see a lot of pre-snap motion. You saw that from a wide receiver on that very first play. And then one of the biggest things that a lot of people talked about in the spring and summer was seeing some more wide receiver routes across the middle of the field, shallow to the middle part of the field. And you got all that on the very first play. An RPO, the receivers at respectable widths away, normal widths away, and then you got the quick shallow cross. I think it was to Matthews on the very first play of the game. So he came out and kind of made a statement that, hey, we did add some stuff and we did make some tweaks, and he showed it right away.
Yeah, and, I thought that was a really good sign because, that's something that has been talked about a ton by the fan base. Everyone wants to get back to 2022. It doesn't work that easily, right? Because, Hendon Hooker was really, really special. Jalen Hyatt was fast as can be. And you don't necessarily have the personnel to do that this year and really haven't had the personnel to do that again. But I think it's important to try and get the most of this current group and also try to throw in different wrinkles, as now a lot of teams that you're going to go up against are pretty familiar with what you want to run. One of the coolest things on Saturday was that deep shot. And this, I'll have two questions off of this one, but I want to start off with the setup of that play because I was fascinated by that. And we were talking about it last night, Jordan, just the couple of plays before that, how, Heupel kind of set that play up, and then you have that deep shot down the field. Detail that kind of situation on Saturday from the Volunteers.
Yeah, basically what you saw in that, last year, the tweak that he made to the offense last season was a lot of 12 personnel, 2 tight ends, 1 running back. And we kind of ran that formation towards the end. I think it was towards the end of the first quarter. We showed it one time, that specific formation, and it was an RPO when we handed it off. And when I went back to watch the All-22 last night, I remembered the deep shot to Staley and the formation that we were in. So then I saw us line up in that formation towards the end of the first quarter, and I started kind of watching my eyes on the safeties to see what they would do. And on that RPO that we handed it off on, the safeties bit down pretty hard. And then we didn't go back to it the rest of the first quarter. And then to begin the second quarter, we opened the drive with the exact same play that was in the first quarter, where it was an RPO, 12 personnel, the 2 tight ends were in the backfield. And again, we handed it off, and the safeties bit down really hard again. And then 2 plays later is when they go to the deep shot to Staley. And just like they had saw in the first 2 tries, the safety bit down really hard, and Staley saw that. And Staley did a really good job, too, of selling the DB that he was just running to go. And he set the DB up, and he crosses his face, and actually runs more of a post pattern. And it was just great protection up front. It was a great protection by Kitzelman to pick up a blitzing linebacker to give Aguilar enough time to throw it. It was a beautiful throw by Aguilar, put a lot of air under it, allow his guy to be able to see it and completely run under it. And, it was very, very accurate. But the biggest thing that I'd seen was the two formations that we had shown from that. We handed the ball off on an RPO, and the safeties, they were biting pretty hard to crash in to stop our run game. And you could tell that Hawsley and Hopple saw that, and they dialed that play up to Staley.
One thing we had talked about last year when talking about Nico Iamaleava and what was kind of the percentage of deep shots he could hit. And one thing that you had talked about last year is like a Hendon Hooker was like a 50%, a 75% guy down the field, like 3 out of 4 deep shots he was hitting. And Tennessee hasn't had a quarterback like that since. And Joey on Saturday, from at least my knowledge and my own, stat taking, was like a 66% guy. I mean, you had that deep shot to Staley, and then one of them was a little bit underthrown, but it got called for PI, so I counted that as a win. And then you had one deep shot that was just a little bit of an overthrow. But, I thought Joey Aguilar was above a 40% guy, and that's the number I've been projecting. If you can get a 40% guy, 2 out of 5 deep shots a game, I think this Tennessee offense can get back to that high-tempo rhythm and get back to what they look like in 2022, at least in a nutshell. Maybe not to the same extent where you're not going to have the high-flying speed of a Jalen Hyatt, but if you could get Aguilar to be around that 40% plus guy, I feel like this Tennessee offense is in a better position than it was last year. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And, your 39% is pretty accurate on Aguilar. I actually looked this up about a week ago, what Aguilar's completion percentage was on throws 20-plus yards down the field in his 2 years at App State, and it was 39.5%. And when you do Milton and Nico combined in 23-24 on throws 20-plus yards down the field, they were right at 30%. So you're basically getting a 10% increase of, completion percentage and accuracy on your throws 20-plus yards down the field. So to your point, if you can get the 4 out of 10 times, that's exactly what I was saying a year or so ago about Hooker. Is what made Hooker different than Milton and Nico were if he threw the ball deep 10 times, he's completing 4 out of 5.
Yeah.
And he may get 2 PIs on 2 more. So really you're completing 6 out of 10. Whereas Nico and Joe never really gave their guys a chance to catch a deep ball. And 2, they overthrew them so bad you never really got a chance for a PI call either.
Yeah.
And you saw both of those things happen as far as Aguilar and the PI and being able to complete a deep pass on Saturday. He completed the deep pass to Staley. In the first quarter, I think it might have been the very first drive, he threw the ball up and allowed his receiver to make a play on it, which caused a pass interference. There was actually another deep throw, I want to say, I think in the third or fourth quarter to Matthews that was laid right in a bucket. The DB just made a really good play on it.
Yeah.
He got his hands in there. So I agree with you. The thing this offense has been missing is a guy that can hit 40 to 50% of the deep shots. There was a video circulating around this summer of all the deep shots Nico missed, the overthrows. I mean, we look at the Alabama game. There were 3 or 4 throws in the Bama game last year that Nico guys were running wide open. He just overthrows them.
Yeah.
Well, if you have Aguilar in that situation and he hits 3 out of 4 or 2 out of 4, you're scoring 14 or 21 points in the first quarter of that game.
Yeah.
It makes the offense look completely different. So to your point, you're 100% right. I think Aguilar, and it's statistically been proven his last 2 years at App State, he's one of the best deep ball throwers in college football.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to give this offense some extra juice right there alone, just on that, not even adding in the wrinkles that you're talking about.
Hey, Jordan, great to hear from you. As always, glad you're back and giving us your feedback. I have a question for you. So Tennessee has received some criticism on their execution in the red zone in previous seasons. They looked a little bit more effective this past weekend. What do you think the difference is there?
I think it was just a quarterback that understood what he was seeing, was able to make quick, decisive decisions. The 2 plays that come to my mind in the red zone was where he escaped the pocket to his left and threw a catchable ball to Star Thomas. His timing in the pocket to understand, I got to get through my reads. He to me, when I went back and looked, he really didn't even see the pressure coming from his backside. He felt it. That's something completely different than we saw with Nico. Nico last year was escaping clean pockets for no reason.
Yeah.
And kind of not letting plays develop. And you saw the experience of Aguilar on that first play to start Thomas. And then kind of the same thing on the last touchdown Tennessee scored is Aguilar's ability to, on that play, they threw it to Miles Kitzman on a delay release, and he just backed up and allowed Kitzman enough time to clear the two linebackers to throw it over their head. Some of those things that, to me, I've been saying this with a lot of people this week, just comparing Nico and Aguilar. Nico, athletically, is far superior than Aguilar is. Bigger, taller, faster, stronger, better arm. But there are some things that a quarterback has that you just can't teach. Intangibles, feel in the pocket, touch on throws. And those two plays that I'm describing there that happen in the red zone are things that you need in a quarterback to be able to make. So I think just the quarterback feel, the experience, understanding what's going on, not, the pressure getting to them and escaping the pocket too early or too soon. All those things combine into me having a better red zone offense. And also when you're able to run the football as well as Tennessee did, that's going to help your red zone offense. So that's one thing, Allie, also that I'm going to continue to look at as the season goes on is how is our red zone offense this season? Because in 21-22, it was amazing. It was one of the best in the country. 23-24, not so much. So that's one thing I'm going to keep an eye on also is how good is our red zone offense. Can we finish drives? Last year, you got a lot of opportunities in the red zone where you didn't finish drives. So I'm kind of looking to see how that works out the rest of the season.
Jordan Moore joining us on a Victory Monday here in Knoxville. Final question, Jordan. Obviously, there was a lot of good this weekend. New offense, new quarterback, was able to find 45 points on the scoreboard, a big plus. What are the things you're looking to improve on moving forward? Maybe not so much against ETSU this weekend, or maybe it is to clean up before you head against Georgia. But what needs to be improved offensively as the Volunteers approach SEC play?
I think one thing that could have helped early in the game was some of the inaccurate throws by Aguilar. There were some easy throws that he missed early in that game. Now, I went and looked it up. He was from the second quarter on, he was 11 of 15. So, was that first quarter inaccuracies, was that just some juice of it being his first start, being on that stage, kind of amped up? Or is that, maybe a weakness of his? Because his completion percentage at App State, they hovered right around 60%. I think last year it might have been 55%. So is that more of who he is? He's going to miss some of those from time to time? Or was that him being amped up and juiced with it being his first start on this type of stage? Those are some things that I'd like to see clean up because you left some yardage out there on some of those throws that could have kept the offense going. Defensively, real quick, too, I heard you mention earlier, I think your point about the run game is completely fair. It's a concern of mine kind of going forward. Number one, just depth.
Yeah.
Do you have enough defensive tackles to be able to hold up in the running game? And two, one thing that I noticed is you just don't have the size at defensive tackle that you had with Amari Thomas, Omar Normal-Lott, Elijah Simmons. Those type of bodies just aren't there anymore. You kind of have more thinner defensive tackles that are really more geared up towards getting upfield and just attacking the quarterback instead of really holding gaps and slowing down the running game. So to me, that's one thing that I want to your point, you're not going to really find out against ETSU. But how is this defensive line in the interior going to hold up in the running game against Georgia, against a Mississippi State, and kind of moving forward? So those are my two things that I want to see get cleaned up, especially when you play Georgia if you want a chance to win that game.
Yeah, most definitely. I totally agree. I think the defensive line, definitely a little bit of a concern. Need guys like David Hobbs back for that Georgia game, and also some of this new injury news, Jordan. I'm kind of getting a little worried about that matchup here in 2 weeks, but we'll have you on before then, so we'll have an opportunity to talk about it. We appreciate you coming on as always, Jordan. We appreciate your time.
Hey, thank you for having me again, guys. I'll continue to listen to the show and have a great night.
You as well. All right, Jordan Moore helping us break down the new look Volunteers offense. And when we come back, we'll have our best bets and best bets recap presented by VIP Play. Stay right here. It's Overtime presented by VIP Play on Fan Run Radio.
Catch up with all things Fan Run by subscribing to our podcast feed. Like, rate, and download the show from the Fan Run app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey Knoxville, Surfside iced tea and vodka made with real brewed tea is only 100 calories, 2 grams of sugar with no bubbles and no troubles. That's right, zero carbonation, so it's easy to sip and enjoy. Headed to a game day or party at a friend's house? Bring an iced tea or lemonade variety pack from Surfside or try their green tea and new raspberry tea vodka. Find the can with the sunset stripes this season. Surfside iced tea and vodka, sold at bars, restaurants, and stores near you. Surfside iced tea and vodka, sunshine in a can. Must be 21 or older. Enjoy responsibly.
Rickard Ridge Barbecue, located in beautiful Cove Lake State Park. Rickard Ridge is home of the best ribs in the Volunteer State. Smoked daily by Pitmaster Mark Rickard. The barbecue at Rickard Ridge is mouth-watering, fall-off-the-bone delicious. Take the scenic drive up I-75 to exit 134. For directions and to look at the rest of the menu, visit Rickard Ridge online at rickardridgebbq.com.
Airlines have just reduced their prices even more. Book 30 days in advance and save big.
Want the absolute lowest prices on your airline tickets? Then call the Low Cost Airlines Travel Hotline right now for prices so low we can't publish them anywhere. The only way to access our low rates and save up to 70% is to call. Save hundreds on your vacation tickets by calling right now. You can fly anywhere in the world and pay discount prices on your airline tickets. Book a flight today to London, Paris, Madrid, or anywhere else you want to go and pay a lot less guaranteed. Call the International Travel Department right now at Low Cost Airlines.
800-631-1754. 800-631-1754. 800-631-1754. That's 800-631-1754.
A brand built in Tennessee and born from the love of the game, Inward Half revolutionizes golfing comfort. Crafted by a former pro and dedicated enthusiast just like you, our luxury performance wear guarantees you stay cool and comfortable through every swing and every day. We're not just a brand. We've set out to create a lifestyle for those who understand that impeccable style and premium performance are a hole-in-one. Enjoy the walk-in with Inward Half.
Citizens National Bank.
Life is more fun with a Good Life checking account, offering extra benefits including bank travel. Join us for a trip to Mackinac Island for a stay at the beautiful Grand Hotel. Travel with us to southern Utah to witness the enormous, colorful, and unusual rock formations. Or join us on one of our many day trips. We're always on the go.
Citizens National Bank. Banking never felt so good.
Member FDIC.
All right, back here on Overtime on a Victory Monday from Knoxville, Tennessee. We appreciate you listening along with us. Now time for our Best Bets recap and Best Bets of the Night presented by VIP Play. Go claim your VIP Play welcome bonus, and when you make your first bet of $5 or more, you'll get $100 instantly in bonus bets by using the code FANRUN. That's FANRUN in all caps to claim those bonus bets. And folks, college football is officially back. The NFL starts on Thursday. There is no reason not to get in on the action on VIP Play. Use that code FANRUN in all caps. Get $100. Bet on whatever you want, a spread, a total, a money line. Get involved this season with VIP Play. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789. Must be 21 years or older and located in Tennessee to bet. We'll do my best bets recap and then my best bet for tonight. And after you hear my recap, you probably won't want to take my bet tonight. But it was a tough weekend in week one for me. We'll begin with our bets from Friday. We had Charlotte plus 3.5 in the Dukes Mayo Classic against Appalachian State at plus 3.5. And they lose pretty handily. This was a little bit of a risk bet, knowing that both teams were totally different, had new coaching staffs, new rosters. Getting the value at plus 3.5 was really valuable to me. So I played it. Didn't end up going my way, but it is what it is. Georgia Tech -4. I thought they were the stronger team with a more established quarterback and system, and that was what happened in Colorado. Despite 3 turnovers in the first 3 possessions, they find a way to win and cover. I had the over 61 UNLV Sam Houston State on Friday night, and this one was oh so close. Just a frustrating loss. So Sam Houston State had so many opportunities within the red zone. Had a couple of touchdowns on both teams negated by penalties. A very frustrating loss, but again, that's why we do it. On Saturday, got off to a hot start. Tennessee -13.5. They cruise against Syracuse. No issues there. Texas +2.5. 1 of 5 on 4th down and 4 of 15 on 3rd down. Not a good day for the Longhorns in crucial spots. Credit to the Ohio State defense for stepping up. This one very easily could have been a tie game late in this one if the Texas tush push wasn't the worst thing you've ever seen on television. Another very frustrating loss was Georgia -38.5. They lose by the hook after allowing a late touchdown to Marshall as the Bulldogs win 45-7. We lose by the hook. Clemson -3.5. It was a 2-unit play, my first one of the year. I was very high on this Clemson team, as I've talked about all summer. And Antonio Williams goes down in the 3rd play of the offensive possession for Clemson. Does not return. That's a top 4 wide receiver in the country. I'm sure he would have made an impact. But credit to the LSU defense. Was a lot better than I expected, and they get a big-time win. Yesterday, we had the over in Virginia Tech and South Carolina. We had another touchdown negated by a very ticky-tack call in the end zone. Nick Harbor has a touchdown wiped away. And Kyron Droves continues to be the guy that is highly talked about in the offseason, and then you watch him play, and you're like, damn, this guy sucks. So that was yesterday. And then also last night had the under 51 in Miami and Notre Dame, and it is 21-7 in the middle of the 3rd quarter, and they somehow find a way to get right to the total at 51, and we push. So a very tough weekend, very frustrating weekend, but week 1 is always a little bit up in the air as you kind of give your reads off of what you make of the team in the offseason before you actually get to see them play. Week 2, we'll have some adjusted lines. But tonight, I said it's not enough what happened this weekend. I'm back at it. 2-unit play, my second one of the season. It's TCU -3 against North Carolina. Bill Belichick, a big-time story. I like Gio Lopez, a transfer from South Alabama at quarterback, but Josh Hoover and TCU are a much more established team. And I'll read you this stat real quick about Sonny Dykes. Sonny Dykes is 12-1 straight up and 8-4-1 as a favorite of -3.5 to 10 points at TCU. Right now on most books, they're at 3.5. I got it at 3, but I am taking the Horned Frogs to get it done tonight. Just a more established quarterback, the more established team. And I think North Carolina is a little bit of a public darling. Oh my gosh, Bill Belichick's coaching. Let's take them. I'll go on the other side for 2 units. Need to bounce back tonight, hoping to get the week started off the right way. My lone play tonight presented by VIP Play. All right, when we come back in hour number 2, we've got a ton to talk about from week 1 of college football. There were so many big games this weekend outside of Syracuse and Tennessee. We'll tell you all about it and give our takeaways right here on Fan Run Radio.
Follow us on Twitter or X or whatever the they're calling it these days at Fox Sports Knox. Fox Sports Knoxville. Fan Run Radio.
Every 40 seconds, a child goes missing somewhere in the U.S. You can help in the effort to find missing kids simply by donating your car or boat to Find the Children, a nonprofit organization dedicated to returning missing children to their families. Find the Children works closely with national and community agencies and organizations and helps distribute flyers and posters that are directly responsible for recovering missing kids. Your car or boat donation helps protect and recover children in every state and community by sponsoring child safety and recovery programs. For fast, free pickup, call anytime, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Running or not, your car, truck, van, RV, or boat will be towed away free of charge. Fast, free pickup, plus it's tax deductible. Everyone wins when you donate your car or boat to Find the Children.
Call right now. 800-466-8813. 800-466-8813. That's 800-466-8813.
Located in Knoxville's historic Old City, Barley's offers great food, live music, the best draft beer selection in town, and now your new favorite place to watch sports. Their indoor projector is perfect for any weather, and they've revamped their upstairs area with more TVs to take in all of the action. Their menu features hand-battered chicken tenders, juicy burgers, fresh salads, and the tastiest pizza in Knoxville. You can enjoy their happy hour drink specials daily from open until 6 p.m. Barley's Tap Room and Pizzeria. Blackford Veterinary Surgery Referral specializes in surgeries not regularly performed by your pet's general veterinarian. They're currently accepting referrals from vets all across the country. With their newly renovated state-of-the-art surgery center and highly trained staff, clients can rely on professional and thorough care. If your vet says that your pet needs surgery or rehab, ask for a referral to Blackford Vet and let them get your best friend back on its feet. Located conveniently in West Knoxville. For more information, visit blackfordvetsurgery.com.
Hey folks, if you're in need of a lawyer, you need to call my friend Jerry Givens. I've known Jerry since high school and can personally vouch for him. He's East Tennessee through and through, and if you're going through a divorce, bankruptcy, or a DUI case, you'll need someone you can trust on your side to help you navigate the local legal system. You can trust Jerry Givens. Call the law offices of Jerry Givens today at 865-801-9250 to schedule your free consultation. That's 801-9250.
Got a problem tree looming over your home? Call ECR Total Landscapes. Whether it's trimming, removal, or storm cleanup, our certified pros get the job done safely and efficiently. We're licensed, insured, and ready 24/7 for emergency calls. Big or small, we cut them all. ECR Total Landscapes. Call now for a free estimate, 865-384-2012, and mention promo code FANRUN for free stump grinding on any tree removal now through the end of the year. Also, visit us at ecrtotallandscapes.com.
You're listening to FM 105.7 and AM 1340, WKGN Knoxville, and W289CU Knoxville, Fan Run Radio.
Here we go. Hour number 2 on a Monday, live from the White Claw Hard Seltzer Studios. It's overtime. William Pattison, Allie Campbell, Tyler Barbaras, Jackson Freeman joining the show on a Monday, a victory Monday that is, after Tennessee takes down Syracuse. But there is plenty to cover from the rest of week 1, and we will do that here in just a bit. We'll also talk about Ricky Gibson and an injury update given earlier today by Josh Heupel. Gibson and others a little bit banged up for the Volunteers. When will we next see them? And as always, we'll have our final thoughts. And Allie, before we even got things going today, said she already had a final thoughts ready to go. So excited to hear about that. All right, let's dive into the action from week 1. And we'll begin with the nightcap on Saturday night, and that was LSU and South Carolina. The storylines heading into this one were pretty simple. Brian Kelly, not good in opening games. 0-5 in season openers with the Tigers, and all of those games were categorized the same type of way. Tigers played well in certain moments, had momentum, had a lead, just could not finish things out. Both these teams returned a ton of production on both sides of the ball. The LSU secondary, a big question mark in this one after years of kind of being inconsistent there. They've gone through the portal year after year, but haven't had that Grant Delpit or Derek Stingley or Patrick Peterson or Tyrann Mathieu. They haven't had that hit in the secondary in a while, but they might have found that over the weekend. This was also a top-tier quarterback matchup. Garrett Nussmeier returns for LSU. Cade Klubnik returns for Clemson. Two guys that were both regarded as top-tier NFL draft selections heading into this year. This was going to be a battle, and a battle of two teams that are both named the Tigers and both playing stadiums that are nicknamed Death Valley. This was going to be a good one, and It was fun. It was a battle like was Texas and Ohio State. But the reason why I wanted to begin with this one is because one of my biggest takeaways from the entire weekend was that LSU has a defense. Hats off to defensive coordinator Blake Baker. This was a really, really strong performance. Held Clemson, who is a top-tier offense heading into 2025, to 262 total yards and 32 rushing yards. The Tigers could not establish a run game at all. And Clemson was really bad on third downs, 3 of 13 and 2 of 4 on fourth down. So LSU stepped up in the big-time moments, and the front was aggressive, which forced Cade Klubnik into hurried throws. Antonio Williams goes down on the third play for Clemson offensively. That's a top 4 receiver in the country. Now LSU had an advantage, and they took advantage of it. A ton of pressure from guys like Harold Perkins, who looked completely healthy, by the way, a guy that missed time last year, decided to come back. He was really strong. Whit Weeks and West Weeks, the two brothers, they combined for 7 tackles. Harold Perkins goes 5 tackles, a sack, and a tackle for loss. And they were able to get to Klubnik and force him into hurried throws. And also, it then put a lot of pressure on the Bryant Wescos and TJ Moores of the world to make plays in traffic. And those guys are usually the wide receiver 2s and 3s. Antonio Williams, usually the wide receiver 1. He's the guy that's supposed to be, all right, I'm in trouble, just put a ball up there. And not that Bryant Wesco and TJ Moore aren't good players, but Antonio Williams is a bigger body, more experience. Like, that's going to be an NFL guy. Wesco and Moore aren't there necessarily yet in, year 2 for both of them. So I thought that the pressure was really, really good. But what the cherry on top of everything is that the secondary looked like the LSU of old. Mansour Delane from Virginia Tech. He was a big-time transfer for the Tigers. Brian Kelly said it was their best acquisition of the offseason. He stepped up and was really, really good. 2 tackles, 2 PBUs, and an interception, and a very key interception, that is, as Clemson had just gotten the ball after what was kind of a ticky-tack, no touchdown call. Clemson had the opportunity to march down the field, regain momentum. Klubnik throws the interception, and LSU was able to take advantage of it from then on out. So the LSU defense was really, really strong, and they also finished the job. I mentioned earlier, one of the big storylines heading into this was that in these prior season openers, LSU was not able to finish games. They would get a lead early. They would, find momentum. They would even things up, but they could never finish games. And Brian Kelly lost his mind last year after losing to USC. The very infamous, we talk about this every single year. He's banging on the table. It was, kind of odd, but it was what has defined LSU in season openers. And they were able to finish it. They trailed early, but they made plays over the course of the game to get back into it, and they finished the job. Garrett Nussmeier goes 28 to 38. 230 yards and a touchdown. The rushing attack was really, really solid. Caden Durham was 74 yards and a touchdown overall, 29 for 110 yards as a group. And then Aaron Anderson really unlocked a weapon in the receiving game for LSU. And he was last year, but he had a stretch of 3 receptions in a row that helped LSU march down the field. The X factor for this team was Trey'Dez Green, though. I mean, a guy that is at 6'7" is huge. A big tight end, and you put him in one-on-one coverage with a guy like Avion Terrell, and Green can make him look insignificant. And that was a big-time call in that, I think, early fourth quarter to put LSU up, and that's a guy to watch for the rest of the season. Not a ton of catches, only 2 on the night, but that touchdown was huge. And Clemson just never was able to establish the run. I thought LSU was one of the biggest winners of the weekend. I think they solidified themselves as a legitimate college football playoff contender, and they've got a defense. Them and Miami were, I think, the 2 biggest winners of the weekend because of their defensive efforts, and that's my, perspective from that battle between the 2 Tigers. But don't get me wrong, Clemson's going to be fine. Everyone was texting me this weekend, oh my gosh, William, how'd your number 1 team lose? Let's calm down. Antonio Williams was out, and it was a back and forth. There were plenty of opportunities throughout. Clemson will be just fine. Looking at their upcoming schedule, SMU in week 8, that's a win. At Louisville, week 12, can maybe get a little bit dicey. At South Carolina, with the way at least South Carolina looked on the first possession of the game. Could be interesting, but I think Clemson will be favored in every matchup they play the rest of the way. They'll be just fine. But LSU, a big-time winner this weekend. Allie, any takeaways from this matchup for you?
Yeah, I like what you said about not being out on Clemson. I think I like how this week one was super competitive, but it also doesn't mean that you're counting out these teams for losing against really good competition, especially how early those losses are coming. So definitely not out on Clemson and not out on a lot of these teams that lost this weekend, except for maybe Bama, but we'll get to that. But with LSU, I had them in my preseason top 10, I will say, because they've made a lot of changes, especially adding Blake Baker as their defensive coordinator. And the last 19 plays for Clemson were all passes, and Klubnik was under pressure in nearly all of them. They did an incredible job with the defensive line pressuring the quarterback. And this is huge because Brian Kelly has not won a season opener since Joe Burrow played for the LSU Tigers. So this was something that they really needed to be able to start their season out on the right foot, and they haven't been able to do so in a long time. Looking ahead at their schedule, now it's looking semi-achievable. They play at Bama, at Ole Miss, and at Oklahoma as their biggest, arguably toughest games, and those all seem like potentially winnable games for them with how much they put out in the first week. So I'm very high on this LSU team.
Tyler, anything to add?
I thought Garrett Nussmeier was very impressive. And my biggest concern or worry with Nussmeier was keeping the ball out of harm's way. And he was very, very efficient. I mean, this is a guy that now has the best odds to win the Heisman. He threw the ball 38 times, completed 28 passes. I know it was for 230 yards, 6.1 yards per completion. They're not eye-popping numbers, but in a game like this, when you're on the road, very hostile environment, you got to be selective with your shots. He did exactly that. This is why LSU won the game, or part of it. I was really impressed with their defense. Mansur Delane, obviously another tremendous player. He ended up getting the game ball for that game. His brother actually went to my high school, funny enough, but Nussmeier did everything that he had to do to put LSU in a position, especially in that fourth quarter, to win the game. He was selective. He was smart, didn't turn the ball over. That's what you need from your quarterback. Whereas Cade Klubnik, they threw the ball the same amount of times, 38 times on each side. Nussmeier, 28 for 38. Klubnik, 19 for 38 with an interception. 31.4 quarterback rating for Klubnik, 82.7 quarterback rating for Nussmeier. That's where the differences lie. Now, you could still obviously make your argument that Klubnik is on the same level as Nussmeier. I think a lot of people still would like to make that argument. But in this game, Nussmeier proved that, in my opinion, he was the better quarterback, especially playing on the road and being selective. Now, for the rush attacks, Clemson kind of went away from it. It wasn't effective. They weren't efficient in the run game. 1.6 yards per carry, 20 attempts, 31 rushing yards. It's not going to get the job done. LSU, on the other hand, 31 attempts for 108 rushing yards. LSU beat them in the margins. They beat them in every single category that the Purple Tigers needed to in order to win this game. Tip my hat to Brian Kelly. He did exactly what he had to do. They got production from their wide receivers. Aaron Anderson played great, and they didn't really miss a lot of tackles either. And I was watching that game. That was my biggest worry on the defensive end. It wasn't the playmakers. It wasn't forcing the turnovers, getting the sacks. You knew Harold Perkins was obviously going to find a way to get in that backfield. He's just such a game wrecker. He's such a dominant force. My biggest worry was, can the Weeks brothers wrap up? Can their secondary wrap up? Because in a game like this, there's a big difference between Clemson completing a drag route for 4 yards versus breaking a tackle and getting a 12-yard gain. That's where I think LSU on the defensive end really stood out. They weren't missing a lot of tackles. It was a lot of group tackling, a group effort, a team effort. That's why you saw this LSU team beat Clemson 17-10 when a lot of us were expecting this to be a shootout, a game in the 30s. It's because LSU played a team effort. Everyone did their role, played their role, did their job. And I was wrong about this LSU team. I talked about them obviously being a sleeper team. If this defense can improve, I could see this team being obviously a college football playoff caliber team, a top of the SEC caliber team. And they proved that today, or yesterday, 2 days ago, losing my track of days here. But this LSU team is definitely going to be a team to watch. And as the schedule gets tougher, once they get into SEC play, that's when, we're really going to see if this LSU Tigers team can be a top team in college football throughout the regular season.
Jackson, anything to add from your end on this matchup?
Yeah, tying into this matchup, if you had told me at the beginning of Saturday that Garrett Nussmeier was going to be the best looking quarterback after the weekend out of all the guys that got nationally acclaimed this offseason, I probably would have told you were crazy.
Yeah, and Nussmeier did step up. I mean, I thought he delivered. And he got hit one play. TJ Parker came around and shellacked him, and he was limping. And I don't know if they put some horse tranquilizers in him or what, but he was able to turn things around in the fourth quarter and put together a really, really impressive night. And was probably the strongest quarterback from start to finish of a game this weekend. A good point there.
It was either him or Carson Beck.
Yeah, and Carson Beck. Yeah, Carson Beck looked good too. We might not even have time to get to Notre Dame, Miami, but that was a fun one last night. We'll switch over to another result between an SEC team and an ACC team. This one, however, did not go the SEC's way. As number 8 Alabama falls at Florida State, and I'm pretty prepared for this one. Look, the pregame storylines were Alabama returns one of the most talented rosters in the country. Ty Simpson at quarterback was a guy that I have never been in on. People told me all offseason, William, he's just me, look just like Mac Jones. Oh, my gosh. Look at the similarities. No. And, Florida State's the team that won 2 games last year, a totally different offense, totally different defense, totally different team. It's hard to really judge what they were going to be, but Alabama, with the type of returning team they have, should have never been in this close of a matchup with Florida State, who's trying to, rebuild after last season. Instead, Kalen DeBoer has hit his lowest moment at Alabama. This is lower than losing to Vanderbilt after knocking off Georgia. This is lower than losing to Oklahoma in the final week of the season, or second to final week of the season. This is lower than losing to Michigan in the bowl game with a bunch of backups that the Wolverines had, as Alabama played a lot of their starters. Michigan played a lot of their backups, and they still found a way to win. This is the lowest point in the Kalen DeBoer era. Alabama was physically manhandled and undisciplined against Florida State, and those are the same 2 characteristics of every single loss last year. As a team and a coach, you're trying to get better from year in to year out. What was Alabama bad at last year? Well, they were undisciplined as hell, and they would get manhandled at the line of scrimmage in those losses. Go back to Vanderbilt. You've got guys throwing tantrums in the middle of the game that would then cause for, personal fouls. You've got late hits. You've got stupid stuff. That transpired against Vanderbilt, against Oklahoma, against Michigan. Penalties ate this team up. They were undisciplined once again Saturday. Losing the line of scrimmage. Now, they might not have necessarily lost the line of scrimmage against Vanderbilt, as it was pretty even, but Vanderbilt had a ton of time to do exactly what they wanted. And Florida State on Saturday had every opportunity to do exactly what they wanted. Alabama did not get any better from last year. They did not change anything from last year. Florida State had 388 total yards at 5.1 yards per rush and 10.9 yards per pass. If they're throwing it, it's a first down. If they run it, give them 2 plays and it's a first down. That's not a method to win. Penalties, 8 for 70 yards. They had double the amount of penalties as Florida State. And we've now entered this current situation for Kalen DeBoer, where he's now 9-5 at Alabama, and they suffer their first season opening loss since 2001. And get this, folks, Kalen DeBoer at Alabama is now 6-4 against unranked teams. Nick Saban was 124-4. Now, I get it. Nick Saban is one of the greatest coaches of all time. It's hard to compare Kalen DeBoer to a guy like that. And it's the toughest job in America to follow up that act. But 6-4 against unranked teams in your first 14 games? The guy before you was 124-4. And DeBoer now has 4 losses as a 2-touchdown favorite. Saban had 3 of those in his tenure. The bottom line here is, folks, Alabama is not in a good space right now. And I don't care how good of a coach Kalen DeBoer was at Washington. He doesn't have an NFL quarterback right now in Ty Simpson. That guy has a lot of work to do. One of the stupidest plays of the weekend was on 4th down. Instead of running in a wide open running lane, decides to drill it in the dirt. This guy's not Mac Jones. I mean, this guy is not even the best quarterback on this roster, yet they trot him out. And Tommy Castellanos, the guy that got exiled from Boston College last year, ran all over this team. Little 5'10" guy. I'm out there running for Florida State. This was the lowest point for Alabama, and I'm not saying that their season is over, but they've got to make a quarterback change. Keelan Russell, the best quarterback in that room, and Kalen DeBoer has got to find a way to make his guys be more disciplined and more engaged, because Nick Saban would have these guys puking their guts out after a performance like that in a practice. Kalen DeBoer doesn't even know what he said last week, as he said it today in the press conference when asked about preparation. He goes, I said that? What type of business is that? A horrible press conference today from Kalen DeBoer. My fired-up takeaways from Alabama and Florida State. Give the credit to the Seminoles, though. Squirrel White looked good, too, former Tennessee Volunteer, but I'm more focused about Alabama, Allie. What do you make of it?
Wow, mic drop. I don't know how to follow that up. That was great. I mean, you pretty much covered it. This FSU team just handled Alabama, and it wasn't expected to be anything of the nature. New offensive coordinator Gus Malzahn was huge for this team. I think adding him was just a crazy and intelligent decision. A lot of people made fun of FSU for going into the portal and spending all this money to make all these changes, thinking that it was pointless, and it really ended up working out in their favor. They were aggressive. They decided to go for it on 4th and 1 several times, and it ended up working in their favor. They were physical. They were fast, and more physical and faster than Alabama was, and they just ended up having Bama's number in pretty much every single matchup. This team was 2-10 last year, and here they are destroying their week 1 matchup. I'm excited to watch this team.
Yeah, a good win for Florida State. Alabama, though, not too much to be proud about. Tyler, what'd you make of it?
I love Florida State, man. I love the Seminole Chop. I love Doak Campbell Stadium. I love the students, the fans. I love everything about them. And I'm very happy that they beat
Jackson's got the same look I did.
Well, my older brother did go there.
You need to preface that before you say all that, especially around here.
My older brother went there, got a lot of FSU gear. I've been to a handful of Florida State football games, so I consider myself a supporter of the Seminoles. With that being said, it's even sweeter that they beat Alabama. If they beat like a Miami or a Notre Dame at home, I'd still be happy for Florida State. But the fact that they beat Alabama makes it that much sweeter as a Tennessee fan. So very happy for Florida State. They needed this as a program. 2-10 last year. They lost a bunch of talent, though. However, I didn't see them being a 2-win team last year. I saw them being like a 6-win team. But from going to a 2-win win total last year to now beating Alabama in your first game, that's just a testament to how I'm going to say this, and obviously could get a little bit of backlash, but how good of a coach Mike Norvell is. He's a player's coach. I mean, this was a Florida State team that, in his first 3 seasons, they went from 7 wins to 9 wins to 10 wins to undefeated. And then obviously you had that regression. But I think this is the year that you start to see Florida State get their mojo back, get back in the swing of things. I mean, they have the 4th best odds right now to win the ACC. Not saying it's going to happen, but the way that Tommy Castellanos played, how their defense looked, especially getting behind the line of scrimmage, making Ty Simpson as uncomfortable as one can be. And I'll give credit where credit is due. Ty Simpson did a very good job of staying on his feet when there were 2, 3, 4 Florida State defenders charging his way. Like, there were so many plays or so many instances where Ty Simpson should have got brought down behind the line of scrimmage, but he found a way to avoid the pressure and roll out into the pocket. Now, Ty Simpson wasn't good outside the pocket. He had a really hard time throwing on the run, but what else was he supposed to do? He was essentially out there running for his life. That Alabama offensive line didn't do any justice for Ty Simpson. But overall, I think this Florida State team could be a team to definitely monitor. Not saying they're going to be a college football playoff team, but I mean, this is a win that you needed, and this is a win that if you're, in that 3-2 loss territory, this is a win that the committee looks at and says, wow, this was really impressive. I mean, week 1, they were, 2 touchdown underdogs, and they won this football game. Maybe Florida State isn't as bad as some people expected them to be. This is a team that under Tommy Castellanos, under Mike Norvell, I think could be very, very solid this year, and I'm really happy that the Noles got it done.
All right, we'll switch over to the final big game of the weekend, and that was Texas and Ohio State, as this was supposed to be a battle between two of the top teams in the country. And it was defensively, as Texas, in my opinion, has the best defense in the country. Ohio State definitely lived up to the hype, though, as they were really, really impressive as well. But this was also the first game for Arch Manning and Julian Sand. This was supposed to be a big-time quarterback battle. Instead, we kind of got the battle of the mid. But it was still a really, really impressive performance from both defenses. And here are my takeaways. Ohio State's defense delivers in key moments. Texas goes 5 of 14 on third down, 1 of 5 on fourth down. You had the goal line tush-push stop, one of the worst executed tush-pushes I've ever seen. Arch didn't even move a muscle in that pile. That was something that, kind of also goes into another takeaway I have of the game plan that Texas had. But you also had an interception in a key moment as Ohio State was able to gain a lot of momentum from that. Ohio State lost a lot of guys. No JT Tomaluau, no Jack Sawyer. There were a lot of guys that were really good on last year's team that are no longer on this year's group. But having guys like Arvell Reese step up and Jermaine Matthews, a guy I talked about last week, he had the interception in this one. They've got guys that have stepped up and filled in those roles, and they did that Saturday. And don't get me wrong, both defenses are really good. And Texas's defense, I thought, met expectations. Ohio State goes 3 of 12 on third down and only had 215 total yards. Jeremiah Smith was a non-factor in this one. Had a couple of big-time drops, or maybe not big-time drops, but just stuff you've never seen from him. I mean, Jeremiah Smith, one of the best players in the country, the best player in the country, looked kind of pedestrian against this Texas defense. That was really impressive. But overall, the quarterback battle was not what we had hoped. Arch Manning goes 17 of 30, 170 passing yards, a touchdown, an interception. I felt like he never was able to get comfortable or never get in rhythm. He missed on a couple of really key throws down the stretch. They were either too high, too low, behind, whatever it may be. His comfortability was really bad, and I hate the sidearm stuff. We're not, you're not a pitcher. Throw the ball correctly, and you might not have those type of situations. So I thought he was off his game. Julian Sand was fine. I thought he, had a couple of mental errors here and there, like running out of bounds as they were trying to run the clock out before Texas ended up getting the ball back. But just little things. I think both of them will be just fine. Both these teams will be just fine. This is a top-tier battle in the early part of the season. But it was a little bit underwhelming from what it was hyped up to be. Best thing of the day from that field was Lee Corso and his final headgear pick. A successful day for him, by the way. Went undefeated on his picks. I wish I tailed his advice this weekend.
Also, every single team that he's played at or coached at won.
Yeah, a good day for
the
him.
stars aligned. I thought that was really sweet.
Yeah, Allie, your takeaways from the game.
So starting with Texas, obviously, we all expected more from their offense. They were scoreless for the first 56 minutes, which is unbelievable. The offense only mustered up 203 yards, which is their worst regular season output since 2015. But then in regards to Arch Manning, obviously he looked unsettled, but it was his first away game. I think Ohio State's atmosphere is really intense. We know that. And I'm not worried about him yet. I think he's probably not going to make a lot of these mistakes twice. I think he'll learn from these things. I think that people need to calm down about that a little bit, but obviously it's not exactly what you were expecting to see. For Ohio State, this is their 5th consecutive win against a top 10 opponent. That is unbelievable. Matt Patricia, has redesigned this defense, and they held Arch Manning, who, had his own struggles, to just 17 of 30 in the passing game, which was really impressive. And as you mentioned, they really were successful on 4th down, stuffed them 4 times on the 4th down, including twice in the red zone. So those were really impressive numbers for Ohio State. And Julian Sayin looked solid, but he doesn't have to do too much for Ohio State because of how talented their defense is and all of those things. So overall, not what we were expecting to see, but definitely some takeaways.
Good takeaways there, Allie, Tyler, and Jackson. Anything to add from this one?
My mind just blanked. I totally had something to say.
No, you're good. Mind blank. I'll tell you, it looked like Arch Manning, his mind blanked on a couple of those throws on Saturday. But
that is exactly what I wanted to talk about, man. After having him shoved down our throats all off season, whether it be Feinbaum or Feinbaum, however you say his name, saying he's the greatest thing since sliced bread, or him being picked to be the number 1 overall pick next year, whatever. It was really refreshing to watch him just stink it up. I don't like guys who are unproven and get a ton of praise. I feel like you got to put something out there to get the praise.
Yeah.
And he just hadn't. And so it was really it was a successful hate watch.
Hate watch. Hey, speaking of hate watch and quarterbacks that were unsuccessful this weekend, there was not a bigger hate watch than what went down in California on Saturday night. I was hate watching, and my golly, I mean, talk about getting outperformed. Devin Dampier, by the way, for my college football sickos out there, Devin Dampier for New Mexico transfer now at Utah. He was really, really impressive. 21 of 25 on Saturday for the Utes, and totally outperformed the former Tennessee quarterback. I don't even want to say that guy's name. He's I am 0-1 after his first game with the Bruins. Interceptions, overthrows. UCLA Stadium was at like 50% capacity. That's what you asked for.
I think we won that UCLA swap.
So far, so good. So far, so good.
So far.
Interesting matchup this weekend. UCLA and UNLV. UCLA travels to take on the Running Rebels. Both those teams look pretty shaky. That'll be an interesting one. Maybe Nico will bounce back. I don't know.
We'll see if Nico lives up to the name Running Rebels, because he ran the ball 13 times too. He thinks he's a Josh Allen type player too. Don't know where that came from.
We've got a comment here from GBO about Arch. He says, Arch has the mailman's ears. Cooper needs to have a talk with the wife. I guess his ears look big this weekend. I don't know. I put out a picture and someone said the same thing. They're like, he has the ears of an elf. I'd never really noticed it.
Wow.
I guess when you have a bad day, things get pretty critical for you. So
I just want to say that he really needs to be separated from his last name. I know that that's something that's unavoidable, but I just feel bad for him that there's so much pressure on him because he's not putting that out there. Other people are.
I would agree. I think Arch is actually a really good dude. I think he's pretty humble, and I like the way he approaches his interviews. I've always respected. Now, obviously, he's going to be thrown in everyone's face because he's a big name, and he's done all these deals with Red Bull, and he's throwing footballs at drones and all this stuff. I get it; it's a little excessive, but I think he is a good dude, and I felt bad for him this weekend because it's like you're going up against the number one team or one of the best teams in the country in their first game after winning the national championship. And it's a tall task to go in there and look incredible. And he was not incredible. He wasn't good, but I think he'll be just fine. And, he'll have an opportunity to get back in rhythm. I'm not out on this Texas team yet, but I love that term, Jackson. Hate watch. I was hate watching on Saturday. All right, when we come back, we'll talk about a big development for Tennessee football. Ricky Gibson might not be available going forward for the Volunteers. We'll tell you that timeline and much more right here on Overtime, presented by VIP Play on Fan Run Radio.
For the fans, by the fans. This is Fan Run Radio, Knoxville.
Hi, this is Bo Kregner from the Kregner Group at Realty Executives, and I know there's a lot of choices here in East Tennessee when it comes to choosing a realtor. Here's why the Kregner Group is different. At the Kregner Group, our motto is walking by faith, serving others. It's how I live my life. It's how I run my business. Here at the Kregner Group, we're committed to doing real estate the right way. Faith, honesty, integrity. The Kregner Group. Call me anytime at 865-742-1035 or visit my website at boknowshouses.com.
Have you ever found yourself wishing your clothes looked brand new again? Whether it's your favorite suit, that little black dress, or your comfy winter coat, Crown Cleaners can make it happen. From stubborn stains to delicate fabrics, the expert team at Crown Cleaners uses the latest cleaning technology to ensure your clothes come back looking and feeling fresh. Visit one of their 2 area locations, Kingston Pike on Bearden Hill or South North Shore Drive near Dunkin' Donuts. Online at crowncleaners.com. Crown Cleaners, a tradition of excellence.
Believe in family. Believe in your fellow man. Believe in honesty and an honest day's work. We do. We're Farm Bureau Insurance. And we don't just believe in Tennessee. We believe in Tennesseans. Farm Bureau Insurance, Tennessee's insurance company.
This is Baseball VFL Cody Brown. Farm Bureau Insurance is the official insurance for Tennesseans. Believe in me for all of your insurance needs. Give me a call at 865-992-3871.
Attention service members and veterans. Introducing the Griffin Law Firm, your trusted ally in military legal matters. From court martials to benefit claims, at Griffin Law, your mission is their mission. Here's VFL Marshall Griffin.
As a veteran and retired military attorney, I've successfully defended lifelong benefits and helped preserve professional futures. So I know that when you hire a military justice lawyer, you maximize your chance to get relief. With my unique experience, I can advocate for you because there's no military matter that's too big or too small. Let us help you make these critical decisions that could affect the rest of your life. Remain silent. Request counsel. Call Griffin Law.
For a free consultation, call 888-707-4282. That's 888-707-4282. Or just visit griffinlawdefense.com.
Ready to launch your career? Axle Logistics is a leading third-party logistics company where excellence is an energy. With an award-winning culture, Axle proves that positive outcomes come from a positive environment and a work hard, play hard mentality. At Axle, the drive for success is infectious. And with an uncapped commission structure, hard work isn't just noticed, it's rewarded. For those with big goals and even bigger dreams, Axle Logistics is the place to start your career.
All right, back here on Overtime, presented by VIP Play. We appreciate you listening along with us, whether it be on the free Fan Run Radio app, 105.7 FM or 1340 AM right here in K-Town on the local dial. We appreciate you listening, however you may be doing it. Okay, we'll switch over to an interesting developing story today, as obviously we know on Saturday a lot of volunteers were banged up with injuries, but this one is going to be a little bit more significant than we thought. Ricky Gibson, Tennessee football's cornerback, will be out for, quote, an extended period of time with an injury. Quote, how long, I don't have an exact timeline on, said Coach Josh Heupel. But, quote, he will be out for an extended time. The junior cornerback was injured in the second quarter of Tennessee's season-opening 45-26 win over Syracuse in Atlanta. And Gibson and defensive tackle Jackson Moy will not play against ETSU this upcoming weekend. That game is at 3:30 p.m. Eastern time on the SEC Network Plus. And Moy suffered an apparent upper body injury against the Orange, but Heupel said the Vols hope to get him back quickly. And Heupel indicated after Tennessee's win that he expects David Sanders to be back as well. David Sanders was a late scratch on Saturday. So right now, as we're shaping up to this week, We're not going to get an injury report for this matchup against ETSU. It's only for SEC on SEC games. So we'll be kind of in the dark until Saturday. But right now I anticipate David Sanders to be available. And that's a big-time return because that's a guy you want acclimated before you go play Georgia. But I will say the offensive line held their own this weekend. Sham Umarov and Jesse Perry both did a really, really good job. Hats off to them. Sanders will get an opportunity to get some run this upcoming weekend. But outside of that, I think Jackson Moy is precautionary. But if Ricky Gibson is out for an extended period of time, and we've talked about this a ton, Allie, Josh Heupel loves some coach speak.
Oh, yeah.
But when he's being for real, you can kind of slip it, kind of see it through the cracks. Extended period of time to me sounds more than a month, 5-6 games. I don't even know if we'll see him till Bama. Like, I think right now you're on the trajectory to see him back for Alabama. And now that would be 2 of your top defensive players down and your 2 top cornerbacks down. Jeremiah McCoy and Ricky Gibson, both not going to be available Saturday at the minimum. We'll see if McCoy is able to return against Georgia, but that sets up for a big-time concern against a Georgia team that looked really strong this weekend with the starters in 45-0 against Marshall. And Zachariah Branch had a touchdown. Noah Thomas was involved, Colby Young, Dylan Bell. This is a good wide receiver room. You need your top cornerbacks available. I get it. Ty Redmond was really, really strong, but I have concerns. Jackson, are you raising your? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. But I don't like this, and I know Heupel is a guy that likes to keep everything close to the vest. This is the type of quote that tells me this is a little bit more serious than we may think.
They're hurt physically. I'm hurt emotionally. This was a tough one to hear about, especially not having Jermon McCoy already. Losing Ricky Gibson is big. These are 2 big leaders for that secondary. But it's important that we saw how this team can adjust to losing players. As there were quite a few injuries throughout the game, but they were still able to hold on. Colton Hood being a standout player, like I said earlier, co-SEC defensive player of the week. And then he's a transfer. And then Ty Redmond, a freshman. I think leaning on those 2 guys at cornerback will be huge. Thankfully, they've gotten to get their feet wet a little bit and know that they can pick up the slack there. But man, losing the leadership from Ricky Gibson, I think, is the biggest impact here.
Yeah, and we'll look at the YouTube comments real quick. GBO chimes in, says, Boo starts, McMurray slides over, and I did want to cover that portion as well. Boo Carter, I projected would start on special teams on Saturday. We did not see that. It was instead, I believe it was DeJuan Morris. I'm about to say DeJuan Harris. I don't know. Who's DeJuan Harris? Where am I getting that from, Tyler?
I think he's an NFL player.
Yeah. DeJuan Morris is what I meant. DeJuan Morris was taking back special teams. I was surprised we didn't see Boo Carter doing that Saturday. But now with Gibson out and McCoy out, I think you have no choice but to move McMurray over to other cornerback position. Ty Redmond probably going to have to step up and start as well. Boo Carter back to full-time star, which I think is a positive because he had a couple of moments Saturday that I thought were impressive. He had a pass breakup in the lower corner of the end zone. Also had an opportunity for a big-time sack. He just whiffed. But that's a guy you need to be available and needs to play. So hopefully the Boo Carter kind of suspension run is over this week, and he gets back to starting and playing full-time because you're now in a position where you have to have him there. But I would agree, Jalen McMurray, the veteran, former Temple transfer, 40-plus starts in his career. He's got experience. I don't love it against a Zachariah Branch or a Noah Thomas, but that's going to be the position you're in. So I expect at least this weekend you see that new look group with Boo Carter back in the starting lineup. And if Heupel still is not starting Carter, then I think it's more so of a leadership council situation than, putting the best available guys out there. But Tyler, encroaching on this matchup against Georgia here in 2 weeks, I mean, do you believe that what you have right now is good enough to withstand all the firepower that the Bulldogs bring in this season?
When I was watching the Georgia game on Saturday, they have a lot of playmakers that are so much better with the hand or with the ball in their hands. They don't have the natural route runners, wide ones of a Jeremiah Smith, of a Ryan Williams, of a Antonio Williams. They don't really have that. They just have guys like a Zachariah Branch that if you put the ball in his hands behind the line of scrimmage on a screen pass, he can, break it 50 yards to the house. And he did that on Saturday. With this Tennessee team, though, I think we have a lot of surefire tacklers, which I think is going to come very, very handy in week 3 against Georgia. But with this injury, I do like that idea that someone commented on the YouTube of sliding Boo to corner, or was it sliding McMurray to corner and then starting Boo at safety? I think that could definitely work. I was really impressed with Ty Redmond as a true freshman, just his ability to stay in the game through injury. Like I remember when I was at the game, it panned over to the Jumbotron after I think Ty, I think he got like a pass interference call. And it pans over to him, and he's just like huffing and puffing. And then the following play, he gets a PBU. I was like, wow, like this kid has grit. So to see that out of a freshman early in week 1, it's a pretty good indicator that, this is going to be a guy that you can rely on and depend on. Now, how good will he be? That's a whole different question, especially against Georgia when you have better athletes, better receivers that you have to match up against. But I do feel a little bit overly confident in Colton Hood, Ty Redmond, McMurray, Carter being viable enough secondary options week 3 against Georgia. But, I mean, if you get Jermod McCoy back, obviously that is a massive addition. However, I've been saying don't rush Jermod back if he isn't 110%. He's a future first-round pick. He's the best player on your defense. If he isn't 100% for Georgia, you don't want to risk another re-injury because that's going to be a really aggressive and physical game. It's going to take a lot. It's going to take a toll on your body. You don't want to risk Jermod re-injuring that knee and him being out for the rest of the season. So right now I'm at the point where I feel comfortable with Hood and with Redmond and just with the state of this defense as a whole to get better over, the next 13 or the next 12 days until we do play Georgia. I'm confident from that aspect. However, it definitely is concerning not having your cornerback 1 and cornerback 2. But I think under Heupel, this is a defensive unit that no matter what is going to impress. And I think it's something to definitely monitor, but don't sell the season yet because of one injury to your cornerback 2.
Yeah, a couple of other injuries to note. You've got Robinson, a defensive lineman that was nicked up a couple of times. We'll have to see what his full status is heading into Saturday. As we talked about earlier, Jackson Moy not going to be available on Saturday. I think that's more precautionary of anything. David Hobbs, I would more so anticipate around the Georgia game, as it doesn't look like he will be available. It even could be past that Georgia matchup. I will say that with that foot injury he suffered in camp. So now you're thin in the secondary. You're also thin on the defensive line. And that was a talking point in hour number 1. The defensive line was not as strong as it has been in years past. Granted, there is some, nicks and bruises there. But 4 yards of carry in the third quarter is not going to be something that works against Nate Frazier and a much more solid offensive line in Georgia here in a couple of weeks. So a lot of fine tuning to be done over the next couple of days and also heading into game day on Saturday. But it's going to be next man up. You've recruited at a high level over the last 2 years. This was a very strong freshman class, and Ty Redmond showed that at that cornerback position. Jalen McMurray, a veteran, has played in a lot of games before. You've got to rely on the guys you brought in. And as big of a deal as not having Jermod McCoy and Ricky Gibson is, you're going to have to press on because no one's going to feel bad for you in the SEC. No one's going to feel bad for you that you're missing your top 2 corners. You got to find a way to win. You got to find a way to execute. And inside Neyland Stadium, there are a lot of reasons why you should be able to do that. And now it just comes down to actually doing it when the ball is spotted. So tough break for Tennessee. We'll continue to monitor it. As we said earlier, I don't love the way it sounds, as Heupel's always been very coach speaky. And if it's bad, it's usually bad. And if it's kind of like up in the air, he'll kind of show you. Like, if you're like, we're going to have him out this weekend. Like if these are going to rule a guy out like for this weekend, it's probably saying he's going to be back in the next week. an extended period of time, I mean, we might not see Ricky Gibson until October.
Do we know what the injury is? Like what part of the body, or is that undisclosed?
I did not see in the interview. I suspect it was, I think it was either a shoulder or a leg injury. It's one of those two.
Shoulder.
Yeah, shoulder. That's what I believed.
I haven't heard definitely, though. I
Yeah.
don't think that's out.
So I don't know. Maybe we'll have to ask him. Maybe we'll have to get him on this week. Hey, man, when are you playing? What does an extended period of time mean? But I believe it was a shoulder injury because there was one play that he did go down, looked a little bit banged up, and then we saw a lot of different players regardless on Saturday, so I wasn't necessarily, okay, that's a problem, because we saw Redmond, we saw Farouk, we saw a ton of different guys play, but that was pretty significant and ended up being a bigger deal than I had anticipated. All right, when we come back, Allie has some final thoughts for us on this Monday. Stay right here. It's Overtime, presented by VIP Play on Fan Run Radio.
Congratulations. You found sports radio that doesn't suck. This is Fan Run Radio, Knoxville.
Barley's has live music on weekends, general team trivia on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m., and now live sports trivia courtesy of the Knoxville Trivia Guys every Thursday night upstairs. The game starts at 7 p.m. and is free to play for everyone, so head on down to the Old City and show off your sports knowledge and win gift cards to Barley's. Use those gift cards to buy some delicious food and drinks, and you can take it all in with their wide selection of TVs and indoor projectors. Barley's Tap Room and Pizzeria.
Hey Knoxville! Surfside iced tea and vodka, made with real brewed tea, is only 100 calories, 2 grams of sugar, with no bubbles and no troubles. That's right, zero carbonation, so it's easy to sip and enjoy. Headed to a game day or party at a friend's house? Bring an iced tea or lemonade variety pack from Surfside, or try their green tea and new raspberry tea vodka. Find the can with the sunset stripes this season. Surfside iced tea and vodka, sold at bars, restaurants, and stores near you. Surfside iced tea and vodka, sunshine in a can. Must be 21 or older. Enjoy responsibly.
Yee-haw! I've been hooting and hollering ever since I started betting with the VIP Play app. VIP Play has more than 200 leagues, every bet type you can imagine, live betting and live hosts, all with 24/7 support from real live people when you need them. Start betting better with the VIP Play app today.
Don't be a better, be a better with VIP Play today.
Download VIP Play today or head to VIPPlayApp.com. Make sure you use the promo code FANRUN to take advantage of their welcome bonus and so they know that we sent you. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-8899-789. Must be 21 or older and located in Tennessee to bet.
Are you tired of hiding your smile because of crooked teeth? At Knoxville Smiles, we've got the perfect solution. Invisalign. No metal, no wires. Just clear, comfortable aligners that straighten your teeth without anyone noticing. Eat what you want, smile with confidence, and see results in as little as 6 months. Call us today for more information about Invisalign, 865-539-1776. Or just visit us online at knoxvillesmiles.com. Smile brighter with Knoxville Smiles.
Hello, is Tina there?
Who's this?
Yeah, this is Vince from the hit reality show Wives Don't Tell. Tina applied for our show to confess that her husband won't go to the doctor to get his erectile dysfunction checked. She said she's ready for a guy that can bring the heat.
All right, what the is going on? You know you're talking to her husband right now? Tina!
Well, she wrote the application that her man's performance is questionable. She's basically married to a coffee table. She also said, we live within driving distance to Men's Pro Knoxville, but he's too scared to get a blood test.
Oh my, she is done. She is so done.
Got you, Mike. It's Nephew Tommy. Ain't no reality show. It's a prank. Men's Pro Knoxville is the real deal, fellas. Local experts, test results in minutes. Call 865-544-8220 or hit menspronnoxville.com before your lady books a new co-star. Men's Pro Knoxville, making it happen.
Or do you think fasted for 2 hours today? He means business is better.
Okay.
I like the first one.
So,
the kibble?
So is the
no, the other one?
the chunk? So is the chunky one like is that his bio? So that's a part of his bio, or so? Okay.
No, I'm just prefacing it by saying he's a large corgi, so we're making jokes.
Okay, because he said he's a chunky guy in his 30s. I made it sound like it was a guy on a dating app or something. Like,
it's like north of 30 pounds, right?
Mhm.
What is he fast? Is he?
He is fast, but he's never raced before, and I doubt he'll do well, to be quite honest.
Are corgis usually fast?
Yes, but they have short legs, so it's kind of funny to watch him run.
I think you should do something about his weight because I feel like that's what I would.
Well,
pick.
there's another part of this. We have 3 dogs. Okay.
Okay.
The biggest one is 160 pounds. He's a Newfoundland,
Lord.
so it's like a totem pole. We have a middle Bernese Mountain Dog Doodle who's like 60 pounds, so it's kind of like, so we were saying he's the alpha of 3 dogs despite weighing 130 pounds less.
Okay.
But that's less funny. That's more just like
Yeah.
a fact.
Yeah, that's a lot more descriptive.
Is it supposed to be like a one-liner?
Yeah, one-liner. Can be any vibe.
Any vibe? Okay. Any more characteristics about like what is the corgi doing in the free time?
His name is Toby, and he's super smiley.
Smiley.
Yes.
Okay.
So we were talking about maybe just him being happy to be there, one of those vibes.
Just happy to be there.
But yeah, I don't know.
I like the first one still. What was that again? Like skipped or hungry for a snack or something? Like snack
yeah.
related?
Where is that one? Likely won't win today's race because he can't say no to a snack.
Yeah, I like
I
that.
thought that one was good.
I likely won't win today's race because I saw a snack in the stands, and like that means they're going to run off and go somewhere else. I don't know.
You provide an interesting option here.
Provide an option.
I think that one could be reworked, but I like what Williams.
We'll
thinking
workshop.
I think it'd be interesting to tie it into something else going on in the stadium, so where then it involves someone else.
You're right.
Or maybe like you could talk about Toby's a man, I'm assuming.
Yes, of course.
Maybe you could do something about how he sees a snack next to him, like lined up in the corgi race. He's like, probably won't win today's corgi race because there's a
female corgi?
Yeah.
Okay,
You
like
could see
Toby's a
that.
player.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then people could take that the wrong way and think that Toby's like a cannibal.
Oh, that might be iffy.
Sorry, Toby. I'm not trying to make fun of you out there.
He doesn't mind. He's happy as a clam.
Happy as a clam.
Never heard that one before.
You've never heard that term?
No.
I had
Really?
somebody tell me that
For a
the other
Maryland
week.
guy, you should hear that.
That's
Y'all got
true.
clams everywhere,
Yeah.
I'm
right?
happy for a crab. I don't know.
That doesn't have the same.
They don't
ring.
really have clams.
I love Jackson's mannerism. Like he said, happy. Yeah, and Jackson's like, what the hell are you to say? I love that. Good stuff. All right. Well, we will continue to workshop Toby's intro for this big time court. When is this, by the way?
It's like December 3rd, I think.
Oh, wow. So we got time.
Yeah. Oh,
Are we all
the
going
applications
the
are due
applications.
soon.
The applications are due in 2 weeks, but he's got time to train for this.
Yes.
Wow.
This is very exciting.
Wow. Very cool.
If Toby gets it, is the whole fan run station attending to
Yeah.
He
support
gets
him?
2 people to go with him, so obviously that's me.
Oh,
Do you know who they
obviously.
play that week? The Falcons. If it's a good game, I'd
You know
I'd
what?
love
I
to
haven't
support.
even looked. Let's look.
December. Yeah, who needs to study for finals when you can watch Toby win the corgi race?
I already thought about that. It's happening no matter what. Oh, maybe it's the 7th. Wait, no. I'm going crazy. Okay. Oh, maybe it is the 7th. The Seattle Seahawks?
Okay.
Ah, there you go.
I
what
got
that
Jackson
looks like.
Smith and Jigba on my dynasty team. I could go and support.
Okay,
And Drake
yeah.
London, too. And Michael Penix.
That could be a good
Yeah.
late season playoff push game for
Yeah,
either team.
It
So
could.
it could
Big
be a
time
really good
spotlight for
matchup.
Toby.
Falcons making a playoff push. Toby making a push to win the race. I love it. That could be
Imagine
fun.
he wins.
Yeah. Oh man. So that if you win, do you advance to like the Corgi Race Hall of Fame in the NFL? Like there's all 12 or all 32 dogs.
That's a great question. Last thing I will say, the name of the company that organizes this is called Little Stumps Racing. How cute.
I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, that's going to wrap it up for a Monday edition of OT. We appreciate you listening along with us. For Tyler Barbaras, Jackson Freeman, Allie Campbell, Toby Campbell, and William Pattison, we appreciate you listening along with us. We'll be back tomorrow, 6 to 8, right here on Fan Run Radio.